session here is kind of billed as a guitar seminar. I'm going to do a lot of talking and whatnot. And I got some friends of mine here from a band that I have together called The Classified. This is Stu Hamm on bass. Chris Fraser on drums. We're going to play and we're going to talk, okay? So we're going to start off the song now with a song off of my new record. Thanks a lot. Okay, I'm going to talk a bit. First, I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And any time at all, if you have any questions, you know, just ask away, and I'll do my best to answer them. I was born in New York on Long Island, and I was brought up and went to Berklee College of Music. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with that place. And it was a pretty good school, and while I was there, I started transcribing music. Everybody here familiar with what transcribing is? Yeah, okay. Sorry.
What do you think this is, a music school?
What I think it is, a music school, right? Well, so then I started working for Frank Zappa when I was at Berklee, and I was transcribing, and he put me to work transcribing guitar solos and stuff, along with some drum parts. And then I moved out to California, and started transcribing more, and eventually I joined Frank's band as guitarist, and we went out on the road, and I did 3 tours with Frank, and a lot of the transcribing that I had done is now available, well, some of it actually, some of the guitar stuff is in a book called the Frank Zappa Guitar Songbook, and some of you might have seen it around. It's filled with all sorts of weird type of music. And I do a column in Guitar Player now and then that's transcribed guitar solos. Last month I think it was Eddie Van Halen, and I've got some great columns coming up in the future. And any questions? Okay, hang on a sec. Okay, I figure what I talk about is just technique and what I did when I was growing up and practicing. I don't know, you know, everybody has their own way of learning and playing. But when I was growing up and when I was practicing, what I used to do is I used to make a schedule for myself, and I studied the importance of all sorts of techniques. And when somebody here, what do you do when you practice these days around here? I mean, how much time do you get? What happens? Come on now, make it a little easier for me. Frustration, right. Well, when I used to practice, I used to start out with exercises, all sorts of different types of exercises. Can we kill some of these lights here so I don't feel like I'm Thank you. And I guess first I'll discuss the importance of exercises, okay? Well, I can just tell you what I used to do. And I used to practice many different types of exercises, some to develop picking, because picking is a certain technique in itself, and also certain exercises derived to develop one-handed playing, you know, pull-offs and stuff like that. Then in recent years, when this stuff became popular, I started doing exercises like that. And then at the same time, I would devise a certain amount of time for doing chords and stuff, studying chords, because that's important too. A lot of times, you know, you sit down and you start playing and you just start getting carried away with soloing and stuff and neglect chords. I don't know how what the program is here. I don't know how many, what type of chord theory or, you know, what type of thing goes on here, but it's pretty important that you know, everybody studies chords and scales and whatnot. And when I was younger, I used to practice about 15 hours a day, and I used to divide the hours and divide the day into hours. 1 hour with exercises, 1 hour with scales, 1 hour with chords and stuff like that. At that age, it's easy to do that because you have the time, you know. Now it's probably a little tougher. Any questions?
What age is that?
I guess I was 14, 15, 16, around there. And then 17, you gotta go out and work. I drove an ice cream truck. That's true. How many people here practice with a metronome? Not nearly enough. From my past experiences, playing in a professional situation, I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about, you know, where you're in a studio or something, playing with a click track is one of the hardest things to do, or at least for me it was. And I found that practicing with a metronome or a drum track or you know, a drum machine or something is really, really very, very important. And you can do it with your exercise and do it with your scales and do it with jamming and whatnot. Because, like I say, when you sit down and you just start to play, it's very easy to get carried away with exercises and just doing licks and stuff. But next time, it's check out using a metronome for every single thing you do and watch what happens with your time. I developed this type of thing where I'd sit down with a metronome and just try to play along with the clicks. Just try to clap with the click, say, and it should be to the point where you can't hear the metronome because your hands are so much in sync with you know, the click. Any questions?
Yes, Steve.
Yes.
You said 15 years old, you were practicing 12 hours a day or so.
Yeah.
What motivated you to do that at 15 years? Kids aren't sitting down 12 hours a day to practice.
Well, probably the Partridge Family. No. Actually, that was one of my big inspirations. I saw them playing their instruments, and I wanted to play a guitar. No, actually, I figured, I don't know, there was just something inside of me that, it was a test of discipline, you know. It was kind of like I was trying to learn something about myself at the time. And growing up, I mean, I had a normal childhood and whatnot, but I just felt compelled. So there's basically three types of musicians, I think. The first type is the person that can play and really enjoys playing the instrument and has a great time, just playing, Wail Out Stairway to Heaven on the beach with your friends or something, And there's a type of musician that goes to school and learns how to play his instrument and studies very hard, probably maybe 3-4 hours a day, and really makes his life out of playing his instrument, and goes out and gets a gig, does studio work, and maybe even lands a really nice gig, and is pretty much able to support themselves with their music. That's another type. And then there's your maniac, the type of person that is just totally obsessed with just practicing all hours of the day, and it's like a single, one-minded thing. And some of us, I'm sure everybody can know what I'm talking about to a degree. Everybody's felt that compelling nature to just do something that might not be considered normal. But practicing 15 hours a day, of hard concentration, I think I learned a lot from it, but also there's other things that I've learned as I've grown older, and to help yourself as a player, help myself as a player that really don't have anything to do with music, and I can discuss them later. Any other questions? I think we'll play another song. Yeah?
Back here.
I can't see anything.
How big of an influence was
Joe Satriani was the biggest influence on my playing, more than anybody else. Joe Satriani was my first guitar teacher. I went to school in New York and Long Island, and I went to, I bought a guitar off my friend for $5, and I went to Joe Satriani's house, which is a local guy in the town, and I went to him with strings and the guitar, and I said, and he taught me for 3 years, and I can't stress the importance of having a good teacher. He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about theory. He taught me a lot about playing in sync, and he taught me a lot about a lot of other things. And a lot of my style is a reflection of, it's kind of, you can see a lot of him in my playing or whatever. But he was one of my biggest influences. He's up in San Francisco now. If you ever get a chance to go see him, his name is Joe Satriani. He's a great guitar player. Any other questions?
Yeah. You didn't go to high school?
Oh, yeah.
How'd you practice 15 hours a day and go to high school?
Well, when I was going to high school, I wasn't practicing 15 hours a day. When I say 15 hours a day, it was, during the summer months where you wake up and you just play your guitar all day. It's not like everybody runs around, I guess, at a time and plays 15 hours a day, For the most part, when I was going to school, I guess it was something anywhere between 8 and 9 hours a day. Any questions?
Yeah. What kind of stuff was Joe showing you? What exercises? What stuff?
Real simple, because I was such an uncoordinated little, but he was just showing me simple chromatic exercises with picking. He showed me scales, all the modes, which I feel are real important. I've had a lot of students. I've taught at one point. I had about 50 students. And a lot of people seem to know the modes, but they don't know the modes. You know what I'm saying? They know how to play the modes, along the fingerboard. Well, that's one thing, but really being able to, study them and get the tonality from them and, soloing with them is another thing. It's really useful. And he showed me what that was and, how to do that. And he's just a cool guy, so. Oh, Joe. Okay. We haven't practiced in months. We haven't practiced in months, so there's gonna be a lot of mistakes. But you don't care, right?
Go for it.
You have to tell me.
Let's start it off with, I'll play through it once, Should we talk some more? No. on, hey, come on, it's a seminar. We don't have enough songs to play for an hour and a half. Okay, now you're gonna have to listen to me talk. Can I talk about reading music for a while? Okay, how many people in here can read? Okay. All right, how many people in here could really read? Aha! Okay, just let me tell you a couple of things that I used to do that really helped my reading out when I was growing up, and some things I learned from some good teachers and whatnot. So, you guys who are really serious about reading and playing, you should always carry a piece of music with you and just read it like a book, like if you're just hanging out or drinking your coffee. It really helps, you know, to look at the pitches and try to sing them. It might seem monotonous at times, but just like anything else, if you keep at it, before long you'll be able to look at a piece of music and it'll look like a sentence. You know, you'll be able to read it like a language. And for a while, you know, I used to do that, and I got pretty good at it. It was real helpful in my playing. It was helpful to you know, to hear things on my instrument, and it was really good for learning how to write music down too. Everybody in here write? No matter what, you should just write all the time. Just yeah. It's according to how hard the piece is. The question was, can I transcribe without my instrument? And it is according to how hard the piece is. Sometimes the piece is just too hard and I can't. But I have a pretty good relative pitch. And what relative pitch is, you hear one note and you can tell what the other notes are just by listening to it. But I think that reading and writing, just be ridiculous. While you're at school and you have the time, just be totally ridiculous with the way you read and write. Constantly read and constantly write as much as you can. Any more questions?
Yeah, when you're transcribing, what are the steps you go through? Like, what do you figure out first? How do you decide how you set it up? Like, what you're gonna, for example, how far you're gonna go before you say, you know, just everything. How would you go about personally?
Okay, it's according to the piece. Let's say it was a guitar solo.
No, whole chords and all everything.
Okay, now what I would do is, there's lead sheet transcribing where you just write the chords down, you know, the symbols, and then the melody. What I was doing for Zappa at one point was actually transcribing every single noise and instrument on the track. Waka Jawaka, Cletus Oritus Oritus, Gregory Peccary. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that stuff. Parts of Gregory Peccary are not written out, you know, the part with the transistor radios and all that ridiculous, crazy stuff. So Frank had me write that out. As a matter of fact, I even transcribed his narration. With the human voice is just a series of notes, and if you stop your tape recorder on every note, you'll know that every single syllable that you say has a pitch to it. So what I ended up doing was writing down the pitches of his voice, you know. And there's one record called "The Man from Utopia," and there's a song on it called "The Story of the Jazz Discharge Party House." In that, we were in Normal, Illinois or something, and Frank just started, he kind of talks like this, and he was telling the whole audience a nice little story about what happened between the guys in the bands and a couple of groupies from the town, and he's talking like this, and then he recorded it and brought it back to LA, and I transcribed the pitches of his voice, and then I doubled it on the guitar. It sounds really funny. It's pretty peculiar. If you ever get a chance to hear it, as Frank would put it sounds like George Benson from Mars. But what I would do is, if I had a piece, and if it was a full piece, every instrument, I'd go out and buy a bottle of gin, right? And I'd sit down and listen to it and see which would be the easiest thing to hear first, you know. Say it's guitar, I'd write down all the pitches first. And then, if it was a fast passage, I'd bring it down to half speed. Because it's, you know, listening to something at half speed doesn't necessarily mean it's easier, because it's very deceiving what the slurs and stuff sound like. So I would do that for a while, and then get the pitches and all the slurs and all the accents and all that stuff, and then put the rhythms to it. And then if there was other instruments, say there's like 4 horns or something like that, and it gets real weird when you start transcribing horns or any similar instruments moving in a pattern of diatonically in this type of a pattern. The human ear, because of the law of acoustics, it's hard to hear what, you know, the instruments are actually doing. It's almost impossible, as a matter of fact. So I just, you know, go for broke on that. You can kind of hear the top note, bottom note, and, you know, in between. But with full scores, it was a little different. It was just go for broke, you know, sit there and just pull your hair out and just try to get any little mark. Any other questions?
Can you give some kind of clue what you're playing on the last piece, like mode-wise and stuff?
Sure, that was just what I call a 2-chord. The thing was based on 2 chords. That was written in an airplane, as a matter of fact. And it's the voicing of the main chords on that song are just, it's got the root, the fifth, and the second. And they're moving parallel. So all this, everything is moving scale-wise. It's not a real key. The key is moving a lot, except for the bridge where it's the minor part. It's minor 9 chord. And that's pretty much one key. Then after that, it moves around.
And the melodies and stuff, I mean, you're playing like...
The melody was these notes here, which is the melody. I kind of rigged it. It was an exercise for me, as a matter of fact. Like I say, this song came about when I was just constantly writing. And I wrote it on an airplane, when I was on tour. And I just experimented with taking a bunch of notes, writing them down. That's only about 4 or 5 notes. And then seeing how many chords fit those notes. And see, that melody will work over all those chords, because that's the way, So that was an experimentation that turned out to a nice little song, That's what I mean by just totally going out and just writing as much as you can. You come up with some nice things sometimes. Any questions?
Which is develop your ear?
That'll get pretty extensive. I'll talk about that in a minute, okay? Thanks. Let's do answers. So this next song is pretty much an arrangement with my band, with the whole band. I've got 2 more keyboard players and a singer, but we're just going to play the track, okay? Let me say one thing. The solo section in this song, talking about ear training, this is one of the things you guys can do too. It's like a pedal note, just a pedal. Actually, it's almost a Lydian flavor. And what I do is, Stu just plays like a basic E thing, and I'm moving scales around on top of the basic the structure of the what he's doing. So that's a good ear training technique. It was a technique I used to memorize the sounds of the modes. You want to talk?
No!
Okay, all right. Hey, want to hear a ballad? This song is off of my new record. Well, it's actually becoming not such a new record. A record that I had recorded at my home. It's on an 8-track, Fostex quarter-inch 8-track. And I released it totally independent. You can buy it here right now, as a matter of fact. I think it's on sale right back there. And this is a project that I threw together, totally, my own music. And I did it all by myself, and it's just a lot of funny music. And this is a song off it. Yeah, sure. After I was on tour with Frank, we did a tour in Europe. I came back home. I bought a little house with a big room out back that I turned into an 8-track studio. Anybody can, get a little room with a recorder. And it's pretty important that, I don't know what everybody's financial situation is, but you should really try to get a hold of some type of recorder, if possible. And I went to work and I recorded a whole bunch of stuff that I never planned on releasing because it was just crazy music, a lot of my Zappa-influenced stuff. And it took me about 8 months, I guess, to record the stuff. And I recorded a whole bunch of stuff. And then finally I mixed it down. I get some fan mail sometimes from people who have the Frank Zappa guitar book because it's got the address in it and all. And they wanted to hear something, so I wanted to just make the record available to them. Because it is independent, I thought the quality would be horrible and whatnot. But as it turns out, I was very careful as I did it all, and it came out sounding halfway decent. So then I decided to release it commercially, and it's selling now. It's selling pretty good, as a matter of fact. And one of the songs in it, the Attitude song, will be available in the Guitar Player October issue on a flexi disc, along with half of the transcription. But go to independent distributors with your record and try to get them to sell it. That's the way I did it. It was no big production or anything, but it was a lot of fun, and I learned an awful lot. I learned a lot about the studio and about, techniques and stuff like that. But it was real worth it. Sure. This is got a basic Strat. I don't even know what the pickups are. This is actually a DiMarzio stack. DiMarzio has single coil humbuckers now, and this is a Bill Lawrence humbucker, going into a Cryberry, into a Super Overdrive, into a Carbon amp, and these two Carbons are set up in stereo. I'm going to explain a little more later. We do this one song that has an echo to it. But I have these here, these Roland 3000s, some of you might be familiar with them. They're really great digital delays because you can have presets on them, and you can totally preset, you have about 9 presets, 8 presets. And what I have now set up is chorus. So I have this bottom and that bottom chorusing in stereo. You might not really notice it, but that's what's happening. I'll explain a little later on about the delay setup when we do that one song with the delay stuff on it. Any other questions? Because I blew it up. See, this is this new technique, and it's real modern, and it makes the sound kind of... It's called I'm Broke. Right? Yes. 3, 4.
Yeah, can you do that Steve Hamm thing on the song 2 songs ago?
When it goes, I think it's...
That really cool.
It's a matter of pulling the notes off and having your finger there to grab. And
Looks complicated.
it's really simple if you start out real slow. I'm very, very sloppy at it now, as you can tell. It's real, I'm just starting to get into that type of thing, Well, more than, what I used to do. But it's still very sloppy, and I'm going to attempt to do it anyway because I don't care. I'm no rock star that has to have any type of, aura, so. What else are we gonna? Oh, okay. Talk about odd time signatures for a second. Talk about what? Oh, I forgot. Everybody in here is pretty much familiar with the Yngwie Malmsteen, right? Yngwie. Great guitarist, was with Alcatraz. Well, Alcatraz is a heavy metal group. Very dungeonistic, funeralistic type music that they used to do. It was very, very good. It was performed very well, and they had a great guitar player. The guy's name is Yngwie Malmsteen, who is currently on a solo project called Rising Force. And I got a call a couple of months ago from the guys, and they were looking for a guitar player. And I had been doing a couple of things, and I really wanted to. I started to move into more of a fusion direction, and I wanted to get away from that. I wanted to start playing real loud. And they called me up and they went on tour with Ted Nugent. I was going to go on that tour, but it didn't work out. So when they got back off the road, Yngwie had left the group 3 gigs prior to the end of the tour. And they didn't have anybody, so they asked me if I could finish up the tour. Now, I had 1 day to learn the material and 1 practice day, or just 1 day. They called me on a Wednesday night. The first gig was on a Friday. It was in Riverside. Yngwie has a very big occult following because he's such a monster player. So none of the people in the audience knew that I was going to be playing with the band. So I walk out on stage and everybody's going, Yngwie, Yngwie. Started throwing stuff and stuff like that, but it worked out pretty well. But what's happening with the group, good thing for me, I don't care, right? So I went to San Diego, Riverside, and then we played at Perkins. And I had a great time because, man, I didn't know the music very well. There was a lot of mistakes, blah, blah, woof, woof. But I just got to turn it up so loud. It was just so loud, and it was great. And, had like 5 Marshall stacks or something. But that's what I'm going to be doing in the future. It's just that I'll have my sound more together. You know, I've never experimented with sound. You know, what I've got now is not my idea of a great sound, but it's sounding all right, I guess. Now with Alcatraz, we're writing material right now. I'm writing material for a record. It's going to be kind of heavy rock, not so pentatonic Phrygian, if you know what I mean. And it's kind of commercial. It's very commercial, but it's something that I wanted to do. And we're having a great time. The guys in the band are great. And we're in production right now, as a matter of fact. We'll probably start recording in about a week. We've got Eddie Kramer producing the record. And then we're going to go on tour. And come on to the show. Anything else?
Yeah, during that show you did, I think it was on the song with Stu Runs to Live, there was a part that Ingve kind of does.
Yeah, he used to do this thing with arpeggio. I haven't played it since that gig, but
Could you demonstrate that?
I'm too embarrassed. I haven't played it for I haven't played it for about a month. It's this thing that I don't get. Hey, none of that. Now it's my line. Okay, well, he used to do this thing where he'd outline triads. And I had to learn that, and I did this two-handed technique on it. As I haven't done it. Something like that. It's really sloppy now. It's pretty horrible. Don't clap. No, stop.
You don't care.
I'll get it worked up for the next tour. You know, really. But what I was talking about is playing with a metronome. See, I sat with that thing at one point, and it was like a meditation. You just keep going over it and over it, and you can hear it start to sink in. You know, you can hear it start to sync up, and you know it's right. You know, and that's how you learn how to play odd rhythms real well. You know, an odd meter. And I was lucky enough to have a drum machine that you can program odd meters into. And there's many books that those of you who are interested can get involved in here. I wrote down a lot of books here. Those of you who are really into learning odd times and really getting into that type of thing, there's a book by Gary Chafee called Rhythms. Now this book deals primarily with what they call polyrhythms. A polyrhythm, poly meaning two, rhythm meaning, you know, there's two rhythms going on at once. And Frank writes a lot of music like that. That's where I really got exposed to polyrhythmic writing. And it's very effective in soloing. Polyrhythmic writing is like it's not really normal, straight up and down type of playing, you know. So it kind of gives you a sense of, more like the way I'm speaking right now. You know, I'm not really speaking like this. And when I'm speaking in polyrhythms pretty much, you know. And when I, you know, would transcribe vocal parts, if you were to, you know, copy this right now, as a matter of fact, they're recording this. Maybe someday I'll transcribe what I'm saying right now. Maybe you'll be reading it right now. Who knows? But anyway, so when you get into polyrhythms, your playing starts to take form, you know, more lyrically, and that's why it would help me. But there's a book called Rhythms by Gary Chafee. There's a book by Pasquale Bona, and that's a real good book. And there's a book by Pete Magadini called Polyrhythms. Those of you who are interested.
What was the one about
Pasquale Bona. I don't know the name. Oh, rhythmic articulation. That's right. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah. Oh, going back to what I was saying before about reading music, there's a book that I think everybody should get. It's called Gardner Reed, Music Notation. It's kind of hard to get. It's got everything in it. Everything about polyrhythms, everything about music writing, copying, you know, manuscript, and how to line up your beats. It tells you all the little things like which way the stems are supposed to really go and which way the notes are supposed to get stacked, and, you know, how the sharps and flats are really supposed to go. Because, believe it or not, unless you're a calligrapher and you study that type of thing, there's a lot of mistakes.
What was that again?
A book called Music Notation by Gardner Reed. So demonstrating polyrhythms, not polyrhythms, demonstrating odd meters. We're going to do a song. Oh, as a matter of fact, the odd meter that I practiced up was the last song, this thing that went... What that is, that's 5/8. 5/8 and 6/8. And I'm subdividing it 2 and 3. The 5 is being subdivided 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6 is being subdivided 2, 2, and 2. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other part was 5, 5, and 7. That was. The way that you get that even is you take a metronome and you just meditate to it. You know, you just for hours nonstop. Sorry about that. Come on, do it. Come on, do it. These books can turn you onto that stuff more. This next song is called No Pockets because it's in a lot of odd meters and stuff. Named by Stu. You have a question?
Yeah. Do you intentionally write a tune around an odd meter, or I mean, you just come up with that?
Well, it's a chording. You know, sometimes if I want to break myself into something that I can't do, I'll write something I can't do and then practice it. You know, and sometimes you hear something in your head that's an odd meter. Any other questions? people know what this is. This is called a Floyd Rose tremolo system. If I break a string, it's all over. It's all over, goodbye. No. I gotta talk while I fix this, okay? Yeah, this is floating. Unfortunately, too much. No, it's when you beat on it. Yeah. Yes, I did, but he said, do you feel like you were neglecting your practicing when you were transcribing? You probably, you're absolutely right, yes, but
You got paid.
I was getting paid, right? Well, you see, transcribing, I knew that it was helping me musically, so I wasn't too, discouraged. My chops went completely downhill, and when I was building my studio, I didn't play either, and my chops went downhill, and just recently I'm starting to practice again and get them back up. Give me 1 second. Okay, 5 more minutes. We'll do one more song. We're going to have to stop in a little while, but I'm going to go on again, and I'm going to talk about completely different stuff and play some different music. It actually went a little longer than I thought. Let me turn it around. Talking about ear training. There's a lot of things that you can do on your own to develop your ears. Your ears are, without a doubt, to me, this is just all what I think. And I think that they're the most important thing about your career, or about your being a musician, or the development of your ears. Because with your ears comes more of a communication with your instrument. And there are many exercises that you can go about doing to develop your ears. It's just very hard, and it's very tedious, and it takes a lot of discipline and patience to develop your ears. I'd like to do a book someday of some ear training exercises that are real good. Things you can do with your guitar. And transcribing is real good. But if transcribing seems too hard at first, you can make your own tapes of melodies and write them down and listen to them. And there's a lot of good examples you can do with your guitar. Try this next time you guys play. Anybody who plays an instrument here. When you're playing, try to sing what you play. Try to sing exactly what you're playing. And then try to play and listen to what's coming out of your amp. Just listen to it, opposed to thinking about doing it. You can kind of get schizophrenic, and kind of hear like another person playing. And it's deep. Black holing. But try singing what you play. Try singing harmony to what you're playing. I'm going to sing but you get it to go all over the place. Like I can't do.
You ever transcribe drum parts?
Yeah. In Zappa book, I did a lot of drum parts from Vince Colaiuta. Almost lost my mind. Okay, well, I guess we'll do one more song or something.
Yeah, before you wrap it up, can you give us some background on the players?
Sure, sorry. This is Stu Hamm on bass. And if you stick around next set, he's gonna do a solo, and he's a very great player. Maybe. Stu was a friend of mine at Berkeley, and we went to school in Boston, and he was in a band that we had together called Axis. That's right? And that's right. And he's a great session player. Just moved out here. And really, in my eyes, one of the best bass players I've ever played with. The best bass player I ever played with. I can honestly say that. Stu, you can pay me later. Just said he owes me so much money. No. This is Chris Frazier on drums. Chris lived in Wyoming, and a friend of mine was putting a band together, and he needed a drummer, and he put ads out in the paper, and Chris came by and auditioned, and I played with him, and I was like, well, this guy's got it together. And he's got a very good sense of time, and Chris played on my record for me. I had done all my stuff with like a click track, and then Chris just came in and laid the drums on top of it. And right now he's available for session work, and he's looking for a group, right?
Yeah. Yes, I'm out of work.
Anything else? Okay, well, I guess we'll do one more. Let me pick a good one anyway.
The one with the echo.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is a brand new one that I've just been fooling around with. There's going to be a lot of mistakes, but who cares, right? Now this, what I'm doing in this song is, hang on. So what's happening is, I have this digital delay set up so that when I hit a note, the dry signal comes out of this bottom here, and the echoed signal comes out of that bottom. So you get a cool stereo thing. Now what's going to happen now is, I've rigged this. When I first started practicing this song, I was playing with a drum machine. I had the drum machine going, and I sunk up the echo of this machine here, of the DDL, up to the drum machine so that I can play like an eighth note thing. And I just started. Now what's happening here is I'll be playing one note. Every time I play a note, I'll go to another note, and the note that's echoing will act as a harmony note to the note I'm playing here. And it's kind of difficult to sync up with the band, so there might be some, screws, but it'll be all right. Now, so then the echo's coming out over there, and here we go. I'll do it once. people are going to stick around for the second one? How we doing? All right. Thanks. How many people were here for the last show or the last seminar? Great. See, like I said before, this is like a guitar seminar type thing, so I'm supposed to talk. But, okay, all right, look, we're going to do more playing, all right? If you get bored, just let me know. This is Stu Hamm on bass. Chris Frazier on drums. I'm Steve I. I've got a little record on sale right back there, and some of the stuff we'll be playing will be from that record. I had a band together called The Classified, and we're a 5-piece band with 2 more keyboard players. So the songs that we'll be playing will be songs pretty much that we played with that band, but without half the instrumentation or vocals, so it's going to be a lot of tracks. So, was I Sullivan? No. Last time we did that, put a nice gouge in my neck. We're going to open up with a song off my record. very much. Great. What we were doing last time when I was here just a couple hours ago, play a song and talk a bit and answer questions, because I'm up here, and if any after the session last time, everybody came up to me with some great questions. You know, feel free to ask now anything that I can help you with. We'll be doing some review. Last time I talked, I talked a little bit about exercises and scales and kind of like what I used to do. I told a little bit about myself, real fast. Just a guitarist from Long Island. Went to school at Berklee College of Music for about 4 semesters, and then I started working for Frank Zappa transcribing. And then I joined his group for about 3 years. I'm 24, and now I'm with a group called Alcatraz, which is a heavy metal group. But we're playing more rock stuff, you know, pop commercial, hey, with a Steve Vai twist to it, though. So it's a lot of fun. And any questions? We're going to do more playing this time, okay? That seems to be what everybody was into. Hey, man, okay. This is a song off the new record, too. Just Salamanders. Yeah. Okay. Kind of solo in the beginning. Just go around. Yeah, this song has got a lot of melodies and all sorts of stuff, but we don't have that stuff, or I'm just going to play the track. One, two, three. time like I was saying, I talk a little bit in between each song. What I didn't do, which I'm going to do now, is instead of talking about certain things, I think I'll just give out the names of some books that I thought were that I found really important when I was practicing and when I was, trying to become a musician. As far as scales and exercises and learning that type of thing goes, there's the Thesaurus of Musical Thought by Slonimsky. Are anybody familiar with that? Yeah, it's a real popular book. Tommy Tedesco's got a great book out too for that type of thing. Unfortunately, I don't know any very good books for ear training and stuff, but Berklee College of Music has a lot of good ear training books, and there are some little occult music stores around town that you can go to and kind of find some of that type of material, which is real good ear training stuff. Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Sure, fire.
What were you doing when you grabbed on your low E string and you were pulling it at the end of that last song?
Praying that it would work. No, it's just for show. No. What I'm doing is Stratocasters. We've got this Floyd Rose tremolo system. It's got springs in the back, and if you stretch a note or something, the springs will loosen up in the back of the guitar, and the strings will like vibrate. So what I was doing. It's like a vibrato. Stupid stuff like that, yeah. We're just gonna keep playing, I guess. If there's any questions, please, answer, ask, do my best. Go for it.
Can you talk about the time you worked with Zappa and how that's influenced your playing now?
Sure, a lot. I started working for Frank when I was 18, transcribing music. And I joined the group. I moved out to California when I was 20. I just turned 20, and I started playing in his group. I just turned 20, and did a major United States tour. And the stuff that I learned from Frank, from being with Zappa, it's, I can't really, it covers a gamut of sin, you know what I mean? It's everything from everything to about everything, As far as playing goes, a couple hours ago I talked about playing in sync and whatnot. Well, Frank was on tour with his band, and I spoke to him. I was at his house, and he was in Germany, and he said, learn this song. And what the song was a guitar solo that I had transcribed, a song called the theme from the third movement of Sinister Footwear on You Are What You Is. If anybody is familiar with that, if you listen to that song, I'm doubling his solo. And that was one of the first things, doubling a guitar solo. And with Zappa, it's got, it had to be right. I think there's a lot of horror stories surrounding Frank and his music about, how strict he is and whatnot. But if you're a real hard worker, you get along real well with Frank, because, that's what it's all about with him. It's just hard work and getting a lot done. And plus, I learned a lot about playing in the studio. There's this one song that goes like this. That took me 6 hours in the studio to record that with him, because I didn't know anything about playing in sync or playing in time. I was going to Berklee, and at Berklee you practice all day and you get tons of chops and you go, or along with all your other friends that are going, and that was great too. And people talk about playing in the groove and playing in the pocket, and I just agree, yeah, man, play in the pocket, play in the groove, that's where it's at. But I didn't really understand that statement until I was in the studio with Frank, and that stupid thing took so long because it just wasn't syncing up, and I didn't know, so I went out and got a drum machine and whatnot, and I just played with the drum machine all the time. And try this next time you guys are with a metronome or a drum machine. Take a stupid lick, just something real simple, and practice it for about an hour and a half without stopping, and just concentrate totally. It's like a form of meditation, you concentrate totally and absolutely on what you're doing, and you kind of get into different realms. That's what I would do when I transcribe. there's a book out, the Zappa guitar book. I did a lot of transcribing. You do it for so long, and if you can concentrate hard enough on it, you'll start to enter into a different type of thing, you know, a different feeling with the song or whatever. That little lick, that stupid little lick, will then it'll groove, and you'll really know what it means by groove, you know. And to lay it down, you know, it's got, you know, it'll have that power to it. And then if you keep doing that, before long, you know, you do it for an hour, and then you do it for half an hour on different things, and before long, everything you play will have a groove to it, and that's how you develop your timing. And that's probably one of the most important things, and that's one of the things I learned about Frank. And also with Frank, I learned about the road, going out and touring, and it was real good to be put in a professional situation. And the road and touring and dealing with musicians, and is pretty important too, just as important as anything else. Anything else?
How did you get into transcribing?
My roommate at Berkeley did a Larry Carlton solo, and he told me, he goes, "Well, I wrote this down." If you wrote that down, oh God. So I just tried it, and I just did it a lot. Now I don't ever want to do it again. Anything else? Well, with Frank, we would go into rehearsals 10 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2 months. And he would come in, and he'd give you a piece. Sometimes it was written music. About 35% of it was hard melodies, written out, that had to be memorized, And a lot of times he would come in, he's just a master at arranging on the spot. I mean, he'd just sit there, play this, play this, play that. And he'd go, okay, now play this, and he'd pick up his guitar and go. He'd go, okay, now play it like this. So that's the way he'd do a lot of that stuff too. His technique for doing things isn't that great, but that's why he'd hire guys to do it. So a lot of it was written out, a lot of it was explained. Anything else?
Play.
Great. Want to do answers? Laurel, do you think I can have a glass of water? Thanks. We'll just keep going unless there's any questions. Okay.
It's scratching my head.
Okay. Are you really? You want?
No, I'm serious.
Oh, okay.
I'm curious about your tone. Why you have two digital delays and you know how you get your tone, and talk about the carbon amps maybe.
Sure. Carbon amps are really good. They're underrated, actually. They've got a lot of great features. I mean, you've got an EQ on it. You've got a lot of top end, which I tend to overuse. And I'm just going into a crybaby wah-wah, a super overdrive. Now the DDLs, the way I have them set up is I have the guitar, I've got them looped into the back of the amp, which is always the cleanest way to use an effect. There's no noise. It's pretty clean. And I've got it, the top Roland, let me think what I was doing. The top Roland is, I'm using as an echo right now. There's presets on it so you can do anything you want, you know. It's a slight echo. Later on we're going to do a song that involves one echo of the stereo setup. I'll explain more about it later. But then the other Roland is being used to chorus, stereo chorus, the two bottoms. Here, I'll give you some. Right now it's on 10 milliseconds of a chorus. There's a bit of a chorus going on. If I flip it to the next one, I've got like 26 milliseconds of a chorus. A little more of a thicker. I go all the way to 50. Might not sound like much of a difference now, but in my little studio it's not like a big difference. But there's presets, you can do anything. Anything else? Okay, I was playing, that's odd meter. That's a technique that I started to do a while ago. If you want to do an odd meter, say you've got something that's grouped in 5, by a quick jerk of the wrist you can kind of get it to sound like this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, subdivided 2 and 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And that thing I was doing, I was going from a bar of 5 to a bar of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you can get your wrist to go, I used to have it down a lot better. It's kind of crude right now. I haven't had much of a chance to do, but it's just a fast strumming thing.
Are you in Alcatraz in your own band?
No, I've just recently joined a group called Alcatraz, which is they were a heavy metal group. Now we're playing like heavy rock music, and I'm in progress writing material for a record that we're going to go into the studio and record very shortly. The guitarist that was with Alcatraz is a guy named Yngwie Malmsteen. Yngwie, a very great guitar player. He's got a He's got a solo group that's happening called Rising Force with a couple of his friends from Sweden, eh? And they're really good. I mean, everybody in here, I don't know if you've heard Yngwie or not, go out and buy the Alcatraz record. You can learn a lot from listening to the guy. He plays very fast and very clean, and he's like a Phrygian, dominant, pentatonic Phrygian guy, and he's just incredible chops, incredible technique. I learned a lot from listening to him. I learned a lot from listening to a lot of people. The rest of the band is the same. Yeah.
What kind of, did you have contact with Baloo, maybe Baloo when you were with Zappa at all, and if you were, like what kind of influence did he have?
Adrian didn't have any influence on me at all while he was with Frank. I saw Frank play with Adrian when I was a kid. Adrian's great. I mean, he's got a lot of, he's not so much of a, to me, he's not so much of a technique type of guy, but his experimentation with amplification and digital delays, I mean, the guy's really got it down. He's got the elephant talk thing, the whole elephant talk thing out here, But Adrian is, what?
It's way out.
Yeah, he's a black hole, and I've learned a lot from him. Go ahead.
My brother, you're using, it's like you take away your stuff from
neck a lot.
Yeah.
Start that consciously, or
Well, I kind of developed this vibrato. It was kind of hard at first because it's very easy to go. And what I found out a lot of times, the vibrato that I did have, which was, I can't even do it now, which is kind of like this, I kind of found myself pulling the note out of tune. And vibrato is when you vibrate a note, you want the note to go down in pitch and up in pitch. So the classical type of vibrato that I can't do very well, you know, like when they go like this, you know, they're pushing on the string, so the string is actually going flat. Then they're pulling on it, so it's going sharp. So I developed this type of circular vibrato, which makes the string go sharp and flat, and since I'm going in a circle, I don't have a tendency to pull it out of string, so it really helps the intonation. Hey. Let's do a ballad. Call it Sleep. I've got a record on sale right over there. You guys, some stuff I recorded in a studio that I had, and those of you who were at the first session know what? Great. 4. Thank you. Thanks. Let me think about it. We're gonna do a song. Check that. Check right now. They'll be finished. We're gonna do a song that involves odd meters. I only got halfway through it last time and my string broke. It's called No Pockets because there's no pockets in it. It's all odd meters and stuff. Students.
You played the orchestra, you played two drums at the beginning of the song. Can you go over how you did that? You did tempo.
Sure. Well, what happened in the beginning, there's a song, Too Drunk to Live. No, Too Young to Die, Too Drunk to Live, something like that, yeah. Well, the thing with Alcatraz is I did 3 gigs with them, and I had a day to rehearse and learn all the stuff. But that song I had learned prior, so I worked something out. There's one section where the guitarist does this arpeggiated thing. We play arpeggiated triads basically over the chord changes. So what I do is I took the notes that he was playing and I just rearranged them so that they worked with 2 hands on the neck and pull-offs and stuff. I'm really out of practice with it. I tried to do it last time and it just sounded horrible. But what it is, it's just arpeggiated things. It's just a 2-handed technique of using pull-off, tapping on the neck to get it to sound. I'll try it, but it's totally it's not polished. We might play that song on tour, so I'll relearn it, and I haven't played for months, but I'll get it happening again. Yeah, big pockets. Any questions? Okay,
Yeah, I got a question for your brother.
go for it.
I just want to know if you're using the technique where you use your left foot on the hi-hat and the double pedal at the same time. It seems like you're doing the hi-hat actually. Same time you're doing the double pedal. I was just hitting it open.
You're in the regular band. Yeah, I was in the classified group. Yeah. Do you do a solo? Sure.
She's gonna do a
Hey,
solo.
solo.
anybody needs a bass teacher, there's the guy. This next thing we're going to do involves the echo that I was talking about before. The way I've got this DDL set up is I play one note, and the original note will come out here, and then the echoed note will come over there. And when I originally started doing it, when I was learning the song, I was playing to a drum machine. Hang on a second.